Hi, I'm Effie, and as a teenager, I absolutely loved the series known as The Saga of Darren Shan by Darren Shan. It is a story following a young boy, I think he's maybe like 12, I'm not 100% sure, who ends up becoming a half vampire and is just overall like sucked into the world of vampires and all the intricacies that are involved in that. It is a series that I would probably say is one of my all-time favourite series, but at the times that I've read it previously, I haven't been critically assessing it. So some time ago, I decided to embark on a series of videos where I go through and I read all of the books in this series and I look at them from a critical lens and see how well they have held up and if they kind of reflect present values, and basically if I can in good conscience recommend this series. So I've previously done a video on books 1 and 2. I'm also slotting in the manga as I'm rereading this series. I've never read the manga before, so that is a new experience. And there's been a bit of a gap, but we are now on to book 3, which is Tunnels of Blood, and that is what this video is going to be. It's going to be a vlog of me going through and reading and giving my thoughts on the book as a whole, but also how I feel it's held up. What I will say is that I had technical issues and some of the footage has corrupted, so there will be clips re-recorded from this video. So if I have a change of outfit, glasses, etc., you'll know that it's just that I had to re-record some of my footage. So having just started my reread of Tunnels of Blood, I will say that immediately it sucks the reader in. You're going, oh, what's going on? What's happened? What has led Darren to this point where he feels like he's done this? And I also think it does a really good job of immediately drawing the reader back into the story. It's something that I've noted in previous volumes of this book, that something that I think we don't get so much with modern stories is that it almost feels like it's giving you a previously in sort of situation. This doesn't 100% give you a previously in, but it does effectively catch the reader up to where in the story we are. The only thing I will note is that I think it's on the first page of the book. Yeah, it's literally on the first page of the story. A character is described as being fat, and it is a descriptor, but it's used in a like fat derogatory way. And it just comes across as lazy and not the kind of thing that would be used as a descriptor, or I would like to see used as a descriptor. I could be wrong, but I think this is the first time I'm noting something that is potentially of a, I mean, to say problematic's probably putting too harsh a line on it, but you know, questionable nature about this book. So that is my initial thoughts. So I've read another 3 or 4 chapters of Tunnels of Blood, and we've now been, well, I guess introduced, but for me it's reintroduced because this is a reread. But we've now been introduced to Debbie, who I really like her, and I think I'd forgotten how well she's characterized and how it's a really refreshing thing for Darren to experience. You know, finding someone who is fully human and accepts him for who he is, especially after everything that went on in the previous book. I mean, I do think I probably need to reread book 1 and 2 to like fully get the context, and I'll probably do that. I think I'm going to be moving on to book 4 fairly quick after finishing book 3, but I think before I go any further into the series, I'm probably going to do a reread of book 1 and 2. I also noticed in my notes that at the start of book 1, I've got this little post-it note of every character that we're introduced to in that book, but I don't have the same for at the start of, what's book 2 called? The Vampire's Assistant. So that's something I want to do, and in order to do that, I'm going to have to reread Search to Freak and The Vampire's Assistant, so I know who are newly introduced in each book, I suppose. It's really fun as well to see Darren and Everett in a new setting. And whilst I have a vague recollection of what happens in this book, I don't have the fullest remembrance of, I guess, the conflict for this particular story. But I am looking forward as well to the next trilogy, because I remember really loving is it called the Vampire Rights trilogy? This is the only trilogy that I've got as a bind up, so I'm not sure what each individual trilogy is called. But I do remember enjoying the next trilogy. Don't have the clearest recollection of the trilogy that goes from book 7 to 9, but then I remember also really liking the 10 to 12 trilogy, so I'm quite excited to continue and dive in. But yeah, I'm having a good time. I love how short these books are as well. Like, yes, middle grade does tend to be shorter, maybe less so now. Like, publishing seems to put out really chunky middle grades, whereas these are punchy and, like, yeah, I'm having a good time, and I'm glad that I'm having a good time, because I think there's something so disheartening about rereading a book that you enjoyed as a child and not loving it as an adult, and I am scared that that's going to come. I think I'm probably safe, but I don't know. At the same time, I'm not going in with rose-tinted glasses, which is amusing, because I'm not sure if you can quite clearly see, but the frames on these glasses actually are like a rose gold colour. But I'm not going in with rose-tinted glasses. If there are things that need to be critiqued in the story, I am going to discuss them. But so far, it's very wholesome. Like, I love the relationship between Everett and Darren. Like, they are just such a good model for a positive friendship, and the way that Debbie is responding to Darren and Everett is lovely to see as well. I just wanted to very quickly pop in, because something that I think is going to be interesting when I pick up the manga, and just a reminder, or if this is your first time watching one of my Darren Shan videos, you won't know, but I have got, you can just about see them on the shelf there, but I have the omnibus editions of the manga. So they are a bind up of like every 2 books. So what I'm doing is reading book 1 and 2, then the manga, which I've already done and are already in my Darren Shan playlist. And then I'm reading books 3 and 4 and then the manga. So I'm hoping that my video where I read the second volume of the omnibuses will be up towards the start of April. I can't guarantee that yet, because upload schedules are prone to move around, especially with me being me. But I am interested to see in the manga how Debbie is portrayed, because like Debbie is very clearly a black character, but I'll be interested to see if she has been accurately depicted in the mangas. Like, I don't know why, but like, I'm just deeply suspicious that it won't be a correct representation of her. So I didn't tell this is a re-recorded clip, but I'm just popping in because I don't remember what I said in the clip fully, but I do remember making a note of the fact that Murloc, I'm pronouncing it Murloc, but I'm not sure how it's actually meant to be pronounced. I'm sure I'll know when I listen to the audiobooks too. refresh myself, because when I go back and listen to book 1 and 2, I'll also listen to book 3. Anyway, Murloc is initially described as bloated when you first meet the character in this book, but then later on he's described as the fat Vampanese. And one, I think describing a character as bloated gives a very different impression to describing them as fat. To describe him as bloated gave me the impression that they were saying that he was glutted with blood, and that's kind of what was going on. Whereas fat is just a very different kind of descriptor, I think. And, you know, the fact that this is the second character that has been described as fat derogatory in this book is not something I love. And I think it's a shame and takes away from the story as a whole. I also think it's completely unnecessary, because at the point in the story that you're reading this, Murloc is the only Vampanese, so it's completely unnecessary to even give him a descriptor. To simply call him the Vampanese is enough, because there are no other Vampanese in the story, and you're not needing to differentiate him from anything else. But on a more positive note, something that I'm picking up on that I really love is the relationship that exists between Mr. Crepsley and Darren. Like, I don't know why, but like, it always surprises me the way that Crepsley treats Darren as a whole human being and respects that he's going to have wants, needs, emotions, and that he is his own person. And despite the fact that he is Crepsley's assistant, he still has a level of respect for him and respects him as an individual. But at the same time, it also comes across like he understands that Darren is still a child. Like, he's not talking down to him or belittling him because he's a child, but he's basically operating in the world going, you know, I'm really sorry, I kind of forget that you are a child and you are going to respond to things as you would expect a child to respond. And that's something I really enjoyed in this book, and I look forward to seeing their relationship further develop. I think it's really nice to see that even from book 1, when we first meet Mr. Crepsley, to book 3, there's been a clear evolution of their relationship. Okay, so this video has been chaotic as anything. I am so annoyed that some of the footage corrupted and I had to re-record, because I'm sure I said things when I first recorded that went into a lot more detail and were a lot more descriptive, but I just messed up. Like, I was trying out a new camera. Obviously it didn't work out for me because I lost all of the footage that I recorded on it, and rather than being smart and, you know, recording on my old camera and my new camera simultaneously, I was like, oh no, I'll just record on the new camera and just have no usable footage. So that's what we're left with. I am so excited that I've now finished the Vampire Blood trilogy, and hopefully this is the start of me continuing this series. The intention is I will be putting up a video every month for the remainder of 2024 talking about the Saga of Darren Shan. If I've got my dates correct, and there should be 2 Darren Shan videos going up in March. So if I've got my dates correct, then the last Saga of Darren Shan video I think goes up in November, and December I'm hoping to read I think it's called the Saga of Larton Crepsley, which I've never read. So that should be one video where I read all 4 of the books and talk about them. I'm also going to be having bonus videos where I talk about the manga every 2 books. So if this is something you're interested in, then maybe consider subscribing, but just, you know, feel free to just check back every month, because I should be putting up my Darren Shan videos, and I'm going to try and be more consistent than when I first started this project. And I look forward to continuing this journey with all of you. But until next time, love you. Bye.